All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Sonia Marta, and today I'm going to give you a little workshop, as you saw in the title above, or here, I'm not really sure. It is called Raising Successful and Extraordinary Kids, a Parenting Journey. All right, so this is going to be around half an hour workshop where I'm going to be telling you everything that you need to act upon for your child to be somewhat like me, if that's what you're aspiring. If not, how they can get successful into science, into maths, because these rules are everyday rules that can be applied to any field whatsoever. All right, let's begin with an about me. Okay, so to get to know me a little bit and how I got to where I am today on my journey and on my adventure so far, I am one of the youngest authors in Romania so far, which I'm really proud about, and also makes me a little bit sad. I currently have 3 books on the market at just 15 years old, and my first book was published when I was 10. So we're talking on a really young scale here. When I was, I think, in year 5 in 2018 on Children's Day, so that's June 1st. And since then, I have visited kindergartens, universities. I talked around with children as small as 4 to adults adults, parents. I've met pupils in universities and schools, and I've really visited them to talk about the importance of reading, of finding what you love and acting upon it, pursuing your passions and creativity, and then the importance of education and how that can really give you the push start that you need to end up on the very big top charts. Now, my first book that I published in English is called The Rapping Astronaut, which was published during lockdown in April of 2020. And after that, it's followed by another book that's been published, I think, around 6 months after that. And now this one is very dear to my heart as it is about my hometown. It is called Bucharest City Tour, A Trip with Sonia, where I practically give the children the essence of exploring my hometown or exploring their own hometown, because it was a very successful project, this one, as I launched it during the lockdown and everybody couldn't go outside, couldn't go and explore the nature, couldn't go and enjoy the fresh air in the summer. We were all locked in our houses. So this came in this was really useful for people to get a little taste of what they're missing. So it was really nice, sentimental project for me, this one. And then I also created my own podcast called Storywise, where I post episodes shortened in around 5 minutes. So that should do while you're eating breakfast in the morning, where I talk. Well, I actually am planning on doing that a little bit more in the next series, in the next season. But currently it is a podcast about voiceover artists reading extracts from my book from all around the world. Voiceover artists from places like Trinidad and Tobago to Australia, to the UK, to Romania, to Germany or Spain, I think it was one. So I really got the support worldwide, and it was one of the most unexpected outcomes, because when I was in the pandemic, I really expected everything to just simmer down, to just take a toll on the negative side. But on the contrary, it did quite literally the opposite of that. I was able to reach so many more audiences. I was open to this like world of the digital, and I instantly was able to connect with so many people, and they were able to support me, and I was able to support them on their journey. So it was something fascinating that I absolutely enjoyed. Now, apart from that, that if you want to listen is available on all streaming platforms. So we're talking Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, really it's everyone that is out there. It's mainly linked on Anchor, but now you can find it everywhere else as well. So apart from that, I would like to now dive deep into a little more recent, let's say, achievements. Let me see if I can move the next slide. Okay, perfect. a month ago in April, I actually won the Silver Awards for Women Changing the World Awards 2023, where I actually got the category of Young Woman. And you can actually see the trophy over there somewhere. I think it's the silver one. You can see it. You can definitely for sure see that, which I'm now keeping on portraying in my own house on my bookshelf, so I can wake up to it every single day, which I'm really proud of. So that was a project where I went with Katie Gardner and Peace Mitchell, very beautiful girls, very amazing project that they're doing. And I was so honored to meet so many people that night, including the Duchess of York, and Dr. Tara Trent, which I'm really holding close to my heart. And to tell you a little bit about, this whole mystery, Women Changing the World Awards, if you haven't found out about it, or if you don't know about it, these are awards designed to recognize the growing number of women that are leading the way and in the making the world a better place for all of us, and which inspire us, and to inspire other women as well, to answer the call to take the action, because usually something that is very fearful or petrifying or patronizing is actually just so easy. It just seems like a milestone. Another significant that I've participated in was actually at the London Book Fair for the launch of Women Leading the Way book, which is co-authored by Peace Mitchell and Katie Gardner. And I've actually contributed with a chapter for my journey. So if you'd like to get, a little bit more into depth, or have some things taken away from this workshop that I'm gonna tell you about today, you can actually get your own copy of Women Leading the Way on Amazon starting May 15th. Really excited about, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And you can find that on Amazon. If you want to find out more in detail stuff about my journey, as I get into depth about what you can do instead in this workshop today. Now, my chapter is about my journey, of course, and it's also including a little bit of tips for children as well as for parents to reach success, from like what I did, or what could be applied to anybody to reach success from my point of view. Now, Women Leading the Way, to tell you a little bit more about this, I know this is a bit of a hefty, content-heavy intro, but it is worth to check this out and to listen to me, because I swear to God, buckle up, because this is the ride of a journey that you need to take. So, Women Leading the Way, for those of you that don't know, let me switch the tab, is it's a book that highlights the importance of women's leadership and its positive impact on society. And it actually also offers a collection of diverse perspectives and experiences from women who have excelled across a range of fields and industries. So there is no way that you're not going to be able to relate to that. There's no way that you're not going to be able to relate to that, because it has such a wide array of people, of women from all around the world that are sharing with you their experiences. So you're learning firsthand experience. So this thing is achievable, and everything that these girls are sharing here is that they're pouring their heart and soul and passion into this book. So it is really worth reading it or purchasing it, if you're interested in that type of thing. Now, this book aims to inspire and empower women who aspire to leadership positions by providing practical advice, insights, and tools for success. This book is a collection of stories from women by women, focused on inspiring purpose, vision, and leadership. These are featuring real-life, relatable role models from all walks of life who are women changing the world through entrepreneurialism. God, that is a hefty word. That's a big one. Education, conscious living, giving back, advocacy, innovation, and more, who dare to listen to the call to step into leadership and take action, make it happen. All right, and now moving to the agenda for today, because I want to tell you everything and give you some sense of direction of what I'm going to be telling you today. Now, let's see. Okay, number one, I would like to tell you how you can lead your child to get better at anything that they love. Next, building healthy habits together, how to make a healthy relationship, how to form a bond that is unbreakable, motivational quotes, and well, we have to have some sense of direction here. So I'm going to be also sharing the things that you should never do, ever, because these are subconsciously leading your children into doing everything but creating or solidifying that bond between you. All right, let's dig in. Buckle up because we're about to start. Now, for how to lead your child to get better at anything that they love. Number one is pay attention, because by paying attention to what your child loves to do, and I'm talking about children as young as 2 to 3 year olds, you're instantly hearing out their point of view of the world. You're having them get some sense of understanding, and you're letting them know that you're hearing them and you're hearing their passions and things that they love doing. So they instantly feel like they have some sense of trust between you and them by helping or asking them what it is that they love to do. By letting them explore their world, um, especially when they begin to love something, build on that, because as soon as you do that, your child is going to have a trust formed to you that they're not going to be able to break. I remember I was on Instagram and I was scrolling, and then I saw this thing that a mom was doing, which was absolutely amazing. And I encourage you to do that as well. That is why I'm going to give you the example today. Was this woman had a 7 year old, and every single time she would go shopping, like grocery shopping, she would take her child with her. And what she would do is, when they would get to the fruit aisle, she would let him choose whichever fruit he looked more appetizing, the one that he wanted to pick, or the one that he wanted to try, or the one that looked interested to him. So one day he tried orange, the next week he would try bananas, and then by letting them pick this one fruit that you're gonna purchase for them, and then you're gonna, let them cut the peel it off, and serve it to your child. Um, you could ask him if they like that, and if they want to like buy next week as well, or if they don't, if they want to like get it out of the way. And by that, you sort of let your child explore stuff that maybe you yourself have never tried before. I remember when I was small, my grandpa brought me pears, and my mom hated them. She never tried them, but she just had this whenever she stared at them. And so I started eating them with such gratefulness, such savoriness on my face, that she was like, maybe I should try this too, because this is really enticing. This looks amazing. So she takes a bite, and then instantly she loves pears. She wouldn't have ever tried pears if it weren't for me. So this goes to show that, your child can be some sense of exploration, and can be a new, fresh, clean slate of viewing the world that you may have forgotten, or you might have never thought of before. So listening to your child, letting them explore stuff is a must. I hear parents saying that my child is drawing all day and is not interested in math. What can I do? Because them as a parent, if they're an artist or if they're a lawyer, they're going to expect their children to go into these same fields. And usually you see this a lot with Middle Eastern parents. If their parents are business owners, they're going to force every single detail on their child. And while that is a potentially good idea, you can see where I'm going. You can see where you're going with this. It's not letting them explore their own passions and interests. And you have to acknowledge that when you have a child, you get so much inspiration, and you have to embrace that they're going to be most likely very different regards to what they're going to be doing later on in life. So not beating down what your passions are on them is critical here for letting them develop properly. And you can do this by having meaningful conversations with them weekly, let's say, and without making this feel therapeutical. So you could just go to your child and ask them what you like to do, prefer you wouldn't be doing anymore. And obviously this has to be some sense real, because you can't ask them what they don't like to do and they all gonna respond with school. That's, we've got to keep it real. So let's say maybe foods or activities, extracurricular activities especially, that they've maybe seen on social media, if they use that, if they're not too small, and that they want to try out. Encourage them, maybe send them to a dance lesson. It can really really change everything in a click. And then maybe ask them, you know, what they don't like to do. So if they've been going to this extracurricular activity that they've tried a month ago and now it's not really working out so well for them anymore, don't create this negative center, so they're going to be afraid to tell you, and they're going to push themselves and force themselves to go there into an environment that maybe they're not accepted in, that they don't like, that doesn't bring them creativity or emphasize their positive traits. So really talk to them. All right. Now is share the joy. So letting them share the joy of what they love to do with you and be excited about it together is a very, very critical part of your child evolving. Because by doing things that you love together, you don't only form a stronger bond between them, but you also make your child's, let's say, soul feel understood, feel reason, feel real and understood. And that is really really important as a child, especially when they're developing. um I remember that something that I always loved about my mother and my teachers were that when I first saw the authors in the school visiting us talking about the magic, that, you know, their magic journey, their magic story, and seeing how children were captivated by their talks, I felt a deep desire to be on that stage one day. And I talked to it because I talked about it to my teacher as a start, because she created a very safe trust zone with her, so I felt like I could tell her anything. And I went to her and I told her that, wow, this thing that this guy is doing, the author that visited us that year, because we have a World Book Day and every year an author comes to visit our school. I told her that this was really inspiring, and she looked at me in my eyes. Then a month later, she goes and talks to the music teacher, and instantly we have a musical production, a winter show, that I took part in, and then that's what I did for the rest of primary. So, and it was a passion of mine that just only kept blossoming more and more. So without, you know, having vocalized that, without having the trust or the bravery to do that, I probably would have been a much more conserved and shy person, not being here to talk to you about what you can do, um, over what I've learned so far. So there you go. All right, next I want to talk to you about some tactics to help your child develop a healthy sense of self-esteem. We see this every day on social media because it's having a toppling down tall on us. Children or even teenagers especially are being affected by social media more and more every single day, and me myself, I'm a victim of this. I can see myself on social media spending what feels like 10 minutes of 3 hours on it, on, let's say, Instagram, scrolling through reels, and then I get some subconscious lowering self-esteem because I forget to do what I love and to put myself out there, and instead I just get consumed by all of this. Because let's face it, technology is a great tool, but it can be quite dangerous, or having negative effects if not used properly. So, all right, the next thing that I want to talk about is focusing on the child's strengths instead of the child's flaws. You should acknowledge their skills, their qualities, and accomplishments, in both private and public, with teachers when the opportunity arises, and with family too, because positive self-talk is something to encourage. Let them spell out what they feel like, what they think they improved, what they love, or what they are acknowledged for in school or another opportunity they had, because like that you can raise their self-esteem, you can raise their confidence, and sooner than later you're going to see them excel at so many different things for which they wouldn't have if you would have focused rather on their flaws or on the things that they're currently getting better at. Remember that consistency takes time, progress takes time. So as long as they're keeping consistent and you see it as a definite positive trend, it's good, it's working. All right, the next thing that I want to talk to you is building healthy habits together. And I'm going to start by a very, very common thing, but that is kind of really always underrated. And this is diet. Because an essential part of having a child full of energy and positiveness is actually having a well balanced diet. As children, we all have so many people around us willing to make us feel good and enjoy what they do. So they give us treats, and sometimes those treats contain a lot of sugar, like Kinder pies, pancakes, cakes. And of course, it's only humanly to crave sugar. I, for myself, I have a very strong sweet tooth, but it's important as to where we get those sweet, let's say, stuff from. It could be either artificial or natural, fructose or sucrose, to get into a little bit more scientific terms. But um, having a balanced diet with both fruits and vegetables is vital. Instead of maybe say a dessert for every meal, maybe focus it on the morning or on the for the lunchtime rather than all around the whole day, because this will make your child look up to something and look up to that moment and be excited for when that moment comes. And also, you won't be starving your child of energy because their body will no longer be trying to process all that glucose. So instead of giving your child, let's say, a bounty every single meal, maybe switch that out for a fruit, so like a banana or a strawberry, or maybe both, but make it more strawberry and less bounty, so then you have a balance. And again, nothing happens overnight, so consistency, you have to settle yourself into that. Don't expect your child to instantly one day not be craving sweets anymore, and then beat the idea down that they're doing something wrong, or that they've been eating it around outside of school, because underestimating your child is something that we all hate. Really, we don't really like that. It gives us negative things, and it subconsciously builds these like self-defense system or mechanism whenever you talk to us about something that we feel underestimated upon or overlooked. We have that sense of distancing ourselves, which is only normal, but try and avoid it. After diet, what do you think comes after diet? Come on, because we're taking chronological order. Exercise. So we as children, we have a lot of energy, and especially as teenagers growing up, some parents want us to be silent or less extroverted as they work from home or are with grandparents outside, or be with grandparents outside. They want to diminish the risk of us being injured. I know I had a couple of neighbors in which during the winter time they wouldn't let their children go out and play in the snow, especially when I was smaller. We used to get a lot of snow. Not so much, but when I was smaller, we really did. And I remember I always had a neighbor, which was a very close friend of mine, that I wanted to always go out and ride the sled together and go sledding together. But her mom would never let her, because she'd say that it would be too cold, or that she might get sick, because she would it was too cold outside. And this okay, and this usually comes from a sense of love, because you care so much for your child, and you have a sense of overprotectiveness for your child, that you don't want them to go out and get sick and come back with like a sore throat. But what you're not listening for here is that your child is having these passions, and you're killing their enthusiasm for something that they long to do. Okay, and the next thing is sleep, because sleep is vital to having an energized child at school whose grades are performing well and who's alert and active and willing to absorb the information or content learned at school. Parents should pay attention to how devices are used. I'm not saying that your child now gets the right to abuse their use of devices. Yet instead of going to them and punishing them or taking their phone away, confiscating them, you can't go to your child and expect to have a very close relationship when all you're doing is, as soon as as soon as they think that you've changed, or that they get the courage to tell you something that they've done, and you give them some sense of punishment, you can't expect the opposite from them when you yourself are really building up a border between you two. Instead of confiscating your child's phone, think of ways where you can talk to them. Ask them, if something is wrong, if activities that they do, if they're bored, if they're feeling down, maybe a lot of the times we as and I'm tucking this out of my own experience here, stay on our phones a lot, either because we're stressed, we're procrastinating something, because we have the sense that a task that's really small is really big. And usually parents overlook it. They see their phone, they see their child using their phone every single time, but they don't really think that maybe every single time that they come in, that's when they might use their phone, but apart from that, they never do. Or things that, as soon as, like, it's not always what it is as is in the first glance. I don't know if that was a bit too confusing, but I think you understand what I wanted to say there. Next is create projects that you both love. So children are exceptional when talking about creative projects. And as mentioned in various talks and books, this is one of the critical skills for the future, as AIs will soon take over all the repetitive work people do. So don't kill your child's love for art or drawing or singing, acting and dancing, and beating instead things like maths and science on them. I'm not saying you shouldn't, because those are important stuff and a lot of people are interested in them. But at the same time, there's these things on social media. You should have 3 hobbies: one that you love, and in particular, one that is creative, one that brings you money, and then one that requires that you love. So creativity here should never be diminished or sacrificed for something else. Think if there are any projects that can be explored in his field of interest. So let's say MUN, or United Nations, UKMT for math, the NASA Langley Student Art Competition, um, Scholastic Arts and Writing Awards for the Lumen Prize, or the Lumen Prize for Art and Technology. So finding the right program for your child to participate in gives them motivation, experience, and an opportunity to create connections from all around the world, recognition and practice. And letting your child work gives them a sense of competence, which is critical to being a successful adult. And it gives them discipline and determination and sense of achievement, which then boosts on confidence and self-esteem. And this is a very, very huge rippling effect that it can create. All right, now we're going to be moving into how you can build a healthy relationship with your child. This is such a complex topic, and still I would like to address only a few things, as we can create a 30 days program for this one, because there are so many things that you can elaborate on and really dive deep into both scientific things and psychological things into this one, that it's really worth something longer, something bigger. But for now, we're going to be just briefly going to be touching upon it. So one would be quality time together. It all starts with, how was your day? And build the discussion further to what homework and help they need, and stay with them to ensure that they understand what needs to be done. It's more than just about self-talk, small talk. It's not, how was the day at school? Good. Anything bad happen or anything out of the ordinary? No. Okay. Are you hungry? Yes. These are the things that I usually most get, and which usually bug me. But then I go home and I meet my mom, and she's like, "Tell me the gossip. Tell me the tea. What's up with what's happening with your relationships? Are any teachers more connected to you today, or are any of the courses teaching you stuff that you feel like it's brain science, brain surgery?" So I know many people telling children to go into their room and do their homework, but this is not how a child loves to be addressed. So if you have dinner and then you're like, go upstairs and do your homework, no child is gonna get some sense of fulfillment from that. Some children are gonna go ahead and do that, because I myself do that too when my mom tells me to. But it's not enough if you want your child to fully build a connection with you. So maybe they don't know what needs to be done or how to do it. So you could be that person that just stays next to them, because I remember back a month ago or something, I had an economics project and I didn't know how to do it, and I was procrastinating it, because the more I held it off for, the bigger it looked like of a task. And then I remember I just asked my mom to sit next to me, and she kept telling me over and over again, "But I don't know economics. This is like way bigger than me." And I kept telling her, "Mom, it's not about whether you know how to help me or not. Sure, that does count, but it's about you staying next to me, helping me see that I can do it with some little help of the internet or of the textbook." So mental support, because that usually helps more than you can think it does. You need to be there. That when you have a child, you assume that it's instantly a transparent relationship. If you're not ready to commit to that, then it's time you start doing it right about now. Like such things like raising your voice at a child is useless. There are so many videos out there on YouTube about Harvard psychological grad students, or Harvard grad students in general, who are now successful people, because let's be honest, I don't really remember the precise term, which talk about how to argue correctly. And it's all about keeping your calm, maintaining eye contact, keeping your cool, because nothing gets solved or fixed when you raise your voice, when you get angry, when you start getting violent, or when you scream. Same goes for confiscating elements from your child, such as phones or other stuff. But punishing them is simply gonna get worse to them. It's not helping them in any way. Instead, you could be there for them, as I mentioned prior, because that really helps so much, more than you could possibly imagine. Everything again is more fun shared together, and you as a family should be the first person that they come to, the first person that they feel safe with, because that is who you are. You want to be known as mom, you don't want, or dad, you don't want to be known as family, if that makes any sense. You have to bond with your child, and that takes time, just as they get time, just as they're getting better at a subject takes time. Build your child's library together is the next thing, because one of the things my parents told me that they did back when I was way younger, was to never establish a budget for books or for education in general, and that I can get a hold of as many books as I want to, as long as I have some interest whatsoever in them, obviously, and that I like. So for me, growing up with my mom always encouraging me to buy books of any kind, picture books, self-help books. Now, as I'm getting older, I get to experience something else apart from flip picture books. It's somehow subconsciously developed my wisdom and my maturity, and very significantly sped up my maturing, and my development as a child, because reading just so many good benefits to you. And again, as I said earlier, when I go and talk to a school and give them a session of how my day went, the main thing that I'm gonna do is is dive deep into the importance of reading and creativity. So I encourage you to spend time in bookshops with your children and discover together discover the topics that they're interested in together and the type of books that they would love. And let them pick, let them get chosen by a book, and tell it to you that they want to buy this one because of da da da. So a child who reads from an early age is very intelligent and curious and is better at explaining their feelings or sharing their interests with their family than hundreds of other children who don't read. So it helps them further develop their imaginations, it helps them build their vocabulary, and helps them become more ambitious and critical thinker. I read this article once that covers why you should surround yourself with more books than you'll ever have time to read. I know that this is actually something that I do. I go into a bookshop and I buy 3 books, even though I'm going to read only one the next month, because just the feeling of buying or purchasing books feels like I'm holding 1 kilogram of information in front of me that I'm just absorbing. It's the type of feeling that you wouldn't get with anything else that you'd buy in surplus. So apart from that, it says that the library built is also a research tool. It is a powerful reminder of your limitations and the vast quantity of things that you don't know, have known, or will one day realize that you're wrong about. As the child grows so fast, it is a way to remind them about the things that they were interested in a year, 3 years ago. So there are books that you start today and probably don't like at all and put back. But in 2 years, you're going to pick that book again and you're going to absolutely fall in love with it. This has happened for all of my recently read books up there in that shelf. I remember I had a book that I bought around 6 years ago, and I grabbed it now, and I completely was absorbed by it in the best way possible. Especially for high school students, I would say that this is a great time to start adding on the shelves those self-help development books, because and covering a wide array of topics, such as behavior, communication, self-growth, economics, money. Exploring the things that you're interested in is a key thing that I've said on, and I will keep repeating for the end of this workshop. After all, personal development books are just that, books that help you to develop into the person that you want to be. There's no better time to start reading books that help you become the best, happiest, and most successful version of yourself than while still at school. These are quite literally, these are equally important along with the bibliography recommended in schools, like the classics. I've just finished reading the Aeneid. While it was a painfully long and difficult read, I absolutely like the sense of achievement and accomplishment after doing that is has skyrocketed. Being present and being patient and understanding to show respect. So my mother, for instance, leaves the phone outside my room when she comes to speak with me, as I, over the past couple of months, kept reminding her, is your phone on silent? Mom, I don't like you because you're always on your phone when you're next to me. So again, connecting with people, and this can also be taken away, not just with your child, but with people in general when you're socializing. Putting your phone away doesn't only give you some sense of confidence, but so much more. And it gives you a chance to really connect with the people in front of you or next to you, or the people that you're talking with. With phone notifications constantly interrupting, and even though it wasn't silent, just the thought and presence of it being next to you would get her would get her distracted. And we would only understand a little bit of the time spent together. It is important to really apprehend that the matter that she is completely devoted and focused to me when I asked her for us to talk to, just no matter about what. So if you have 5 minutes or 15 minutes, make the use of them to the maximum. Now, being patient and understanding and showing respect is very, very important, again, because I'm thinking of my mother and how she said that we are business partners from the moment that I said that I wanted to be a writer. And I'd like to just pause and make a side note now. Remember how at the start I said that this is a workshop for you parents? Notice how many times I mentioned my mother during this workshop as real experiences, simply because of the fact that she was there and she was completely devoted to me every single way of pointing, or let's say up point of the way. So now everything that I think about when I reflect and look back on all the times that we have spent together is just how devoted she was for me, and how much I've and she's also learned together as we went along in the parenting journey. And now I'm here to give you the best of the best feedback and advice that I've learned from other parents, from colleagues, and from my very first time experience. All right, now getting back to this. She works in marketing and she's treating me like a client, listening to my ideas and thinking about how she can help and what we did together to have a great way of working ensemble and to launch a project corresponding to my vision. In some ways, this is very, very beneficial, but at times it can get a bit too stressful. So I just vocalize the things that are stressing me to her, and instantly she adapts and listens to my feedback and she acts upon it, because she just created such a safe space now that I feel so free and so easy to talk to her about no matter what topic. The next thing that I want to talk about is celebration. To celebrate things. This was my mom's favorite thing again, because I mean, actually all the way back since year 3, if I remember correctly, there was this one English spelling test where I mean, on the English spelling test on Fridays, because the next thing that I'd like to talk to you about is celebration in general. This was my mom's favorite thing. So I remember when I was in year 3, each Friday we'd have like this English spelling test. And I used to always score over 8 out of 10. But like this one time I got 5 out of 10. And my mom, I remember I went home to her and I cried to her and I told her everything that happened and how disappointed I was. And she pointed out to me that it was okay. We had a talk, and she actually took me out to eat dinner somewhere out, because I tried my best regardless. And then the next week I come home with my first 10 out of 10 of the month. And then we go in a restaurant, and then we go and celebrate at a restaurant. So this just goes to show that celebrating at times, obviously if you don't abuse the use of celebration, can be really, really useful, especially when your child feels like they're going through a down or a patchy moment. You being the glue can be hard, but it can instantly boost their confidence and everything inside of them, because you being the closest thing that they have is going to be the fastest way that you're going to be able to improve their state. So lucky me, she used to celebrate with me every school report, and we talked about every achievement I had, and be it an audition, be it a competition I participated in, be it a new skill that I uncovered, or simply that I did something for the first time. And looking back to it now, I remember every single time we celebrated stuff and how much that pushed me forward for the next thing that I do at even a higher and better standard. It shows me that success can be big or small, and that the journey to defining success takes time, and that it's all about consistency, and that you're not going to see it tomorrow or next week. You're probably going to see it in a year or two. So usually just doing things that you love to that point and having other people support you in your journey is key and very important. And I'm moving on to the very last part. Oh my God, this has been such a journey. This is what not to do ever. So over the last couple of years where I've been observing parents and stuff, this is the list that I've accumulated by seeing what really affected children, me as a whole too, and others in general. So I have touched upon some of these before, but I just want to reinforce them so I can really get you to understand what you should work on. So one would be screaming in public to your child, or humiliating or scolding them in front of others. And I know, okay, so with that being said, without being slammed out in front of you, I just want to point out that this is something that is really hard to control, as even I myself find myself in a situation where I lose control and I scream at my mom because I get frustrated over stuff. So this is really hard to master. But if you do get to that point, then you're unbeatable, you're unstoppable, and your bond with your child will probably be harder than metal. So I remember I was walking home from school one day and I saw this child. She had a dog that she picked up, and the leash was like tangled around the dog's paw. So she was trying to untangle it, and then her mom, you could type of tell what type of relationship or family, let's say, situation they had by the way they were talking to one another and dressed. The mom started scolding her for not doing it quick enough, not doing it the way that she wanted to, and approaching it in a different way that will actually resolve to the same solution is not a problem. And she was frustrated. The mom had probably a lot of things on her hand, but for the child, that moment is going to stick. Even though for you as a parent, you're probably going to forget it as soon as you move on and talk about the next thing. Your child's probably going to subconsciously keep track of it, and it will be like a scar somewhere. So controlling your anger and approaching things in a calmer way is usually the best thing. And take action. If you keep telling your child a couple of things, like starting your homework, and they still don't do it, and they abuse your calmness and your way of approaching it, try and guide them towards something, or try and mix it up a bit. Show them what you could be like if they abuse your power. And with that being said, reading the 48 Laws of Human Nature and Power by Robert Greene is a very, very strong point to start if you want to get a bigger bond with your child. You can read self-help books together. That just popped up. So, as I said, this could have a cascading effect of self-doubt on your child, which is hard to compensate with any other self-help development books which they will read, because your family, you can choose the type of people you hang out with the majority of the time. You can't choose who your family is. So making the relationship with your child a safe one is very, very important. Children build confidence in themselves because someone shows them that they are worthy, that their ideas are heard, that they matter, and they tell them that they can change the world, and yes, that they can lead the way. Don't constantly criticize or belittle your children, because this can damage their self-esteem and make them doubt their abilities. Although you might be doing some things out of love and because you're trying to protect them, keeping this into mind before you vocalize your first thoughts is very important. And then don't be inconsistent with parenting. Set clear expectations and boundaries, and follow through with consequences when necessary. Don't let your biases and prejudices influence how you treat your children. Be open-minded and respectful of their individuality. Don't ignore or dismiss your children's feelings or concerns. Listen to them with empathy and provide emotional support when needed. I mean, that is truly number one in everything. Don't give up on your children. Please encourage them to persevere through challenges and their biggest cheer, because you're going to be their biggest cheerleader. All right, and now you can pause on screen for some motivational quotes as I like to finish off my session. Thank you so much for having me today in this workshop and for listening and tuning in. I hope you enjoyed my session, and you can read more about me, my writing journey, and my tips for children, parents, grandparents, and tutors in the Women Leading the Way book, which launches May 15th on Amazon for those of you who skipped or skimmed through the workshop as it was. You will discover inspiration, motivation, and practical advice to become a leader and take your place in the world. And here's my contact me. So you can pause on screen and contact me or in the description link below, depending on where you find this video. Thank you so much for having me, Katie Gardner and Peace Mitchell and Women Leading the Way. Thank you for tuning in, and let's make this your new start of your new approach of parenting. And I promise you're going to see the progress, even if you try it out for a week. Thank you. Bye. My name is Sonia Marta, and I'm a 15-year-old author. Tuning out.